Here's your host, Daren Wendell.
Hey, you fish freaks. Welcome to episode number 86 of the Kayak Fishing Obsessed podcast, your ultimate source for all things kayak fishing. We are celebrating a milestone with you tonight, 100,000 listens and counting for the podcast. I know, man. I'm pumped. It's pretty good when the average listen rate on a podcast is only 27 listens. So all y'all are freaking awesome. Also, we're really close to 23,000 members on the Kayak Fishing Freaks Facebook page, if that's where you are. If you ever want to get a hold of me or SOFLO, you can reach me at wendellfishing.com or kayakfishingobsessed.com. But Seth and I, we have a special guest tonight. Bassmaster Champ on Lake Havasu. And if you're listening on live, Drew has always been a freaking hammer, as you can see from in a moment, his background of checks and trophies. Tonight we're going to be talking about three things. We're going to talk about the Columbus Fishing Expo, what it took to win the Bassmaster Championship on Lake Havasu. Then we're going to dive into the KAS, Kayak Adventure Series, which I'm excited about because I'm going to be fishing this year. Seth, are you going to be fishing any of those?
Yeah, I have one next week. I'm actually going to be practicing this Saturday. So what is it, Tuesday? I'm counting down the days, man.
Juicy. Ocalapalooza.
That's right. It's going to be fire, man.
Oh, we got to talk about, we'll bring it up in the show. We got to talk about your wife catching an absolute monster this past week and how that went viral. But for now, Drew, welcome to the show, brother. How you doing?
I am good, doing good, man. Just got the kids in bed, maybe. Fingers crossed. We'll see.
No, they'll be knocking on your door in a second.
We're all in the same boat, man. We're all in the same boat. I have three little ones, three little girls. Darren has some. They're all hopefully sleeping, but we'll find out.
No, I hear mine running around upstairs, so there's no telling what's going to happen. But anyone with kids gets it, so no worries. Right. We'll roll with it.
Yeah. So, Drew, for those of you who don't know Drew, he's designed for Jackson, designed for Crescent. If you know the Shoaly, that's his brainchild. And
a new one. I'll tease it. I'll tease it now. I'll talk about it now if you're going to talk about it. And as much as I'm allowed to say.
I'm not going to let you not talk about it. So, yeah, go.
No, I mean, all I really can say is expect something pretty darn soon from Crescent on my second design with Crescent. So that I'm excited about it. So we'll see.
I could ask you a bunch of questions, but you're going to be like, I can't answer that.
Yeah, I really can answer a lot. But it'll be another boat in what we call this line of kayaks that are called the specialized fishing line. And they're the ones that I designed with Crescent. So, and I want to have a shorter period before the next design comes out. You know what I mean? Like the Shoaly to this one, it's been a little bit longer than I wanted for, a kayak, but we're going to try to go a little quicker next time. But anyway, that's all I'm going to say for now, but continue with your intro, whatever else you were going to say.
You guys all too interested in this little nugget you dropped out, a little carrot you dangled in front of us.
It won't be long.
Well, what is not long? Like we're talking not long, like 3 months, or not long, like 2 weeks.
I've seen molded kayaks already of this one, which tells you it's, it's in house. If they're dialing stuff in, so we'll see. We'll see how long it takes. You don't that time period. At least it's going to be fairly soon. It's never going to be like 3, 4, 5 months. Once you have that mold in house, it doesn't take that long. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
But you got to build up inventory once you dial it in and you start getting the assembly and everything and all the parts and components that we'd already had in place to source. That they get added onto the boat. Everything's dialed in. We can actually start producing them and building up inventory for our dealers. So you'll see it this spring.
Okay. River kayak, lake kayak,
early spring. It's a little bit of everything. I've already said too much. No,
keep asking questions. Everybody keep asking questions.
Yeah, everyone in the comments over there. See you guys.
But what are bigger guys, smaller guys? Is it fast? Is it slower?
Color, name, what it is, all that good stuff. Oh my gosh!
I put it this way. Let me just say this: if you're going to be getting a kayak in the next couple months here, next month or two, you'll probably hear about it fairly soon, and then you'll know what it is. And then I would wait and just make your decision if you're in any market for the kind of boats and the kind of style of fishing that I do. Let's just say that. Then there you go.
Gotcha. Oh, it's a river kayak, folks. It's a river kayak.
I've got a river kayak. No, anything I've designed will be good for rivers. Anything I design, I promise you that.
Yeah,
will always be good for rivers. So you didn't really say. You said something without saying something.
Price point? I only asked that because you say you're asking people to hold. If you're asking people to hold, they're like, hey, my budget's around this. You got a range?
Crescent is on the lower price point because we don't make pedal drives. You know what I mean? We're not into that. We're more paddle focused and motor focused. So because of that, you always know a price point's going to be very, very manageable. I'll say that it's a very, very manageable price point. And for if you have a low budget, this is one you might want to wait for sure. A lower budget. So hang in there, and it will not be long for sure.
The low budget squad getting ready.
Yeah, but USA, American made with the Aqua Tough plastic, and those crescent guys, my logo's up there. It's not. I've beat up that shoalie like no one's business. And you guys see how I fish. I fish hard in these tournaments, and with a motor, you've got extra power and force now hitting against rocks and things, and I still can't put a hole in one. I never have. So. I don't even think we've had hardly any warranties on a shoalie ever. And I've got a blim that's 25 pounds light. They put too little plastic in one. It's 25 pounds light, and it pushes in like a trash can. You know what I'm saying? And
still,
I've never busted a hole in that. And that's the one I've beat up more than any other shoalie. I've beat that one up the hardest and abused it in the shallow water creeks. It's my throw and go, and still never can't even bust a hole in it. But anyway. So
guys,
it's
keep Drew talking. He keeps giving away information about this thing. Yeah. Keep him talking. Seth, any questions?
Not hard to do.
No, that's amazing. Yeah, looking forward to it.
But yeah, I don't know. I've interrupted your intro, and now here we are. So I don't know.
You didn't interrupt nothing.
Say, great.
I mean, I go on and on. We'll get to that in a moment. Well, first, I missed you at the Columbus Expo.
Yeah,
I was there Sunday. You were there Saturday. I missed you. I got a video dropping on Thursday, going around to my favorite booths. And what were you doing there? Were you doing a seminar and stuff like that?
Well, this year I was actually not doing a seminar or anything. I was just hanging out because I was actually there on Friday, and I actually took my kids to Paw Patrol Live on Saturday with my wife. So we went there. So that's what I was doing on Saturday, and why I couldn't be there Saturday and Sunday. But I've always done seminars there in the past. And it's been pretty much the same seminar, and I'm sure I could have done something different or done something again, but they didn't have room on Friday to move some other people around. They already had scheduled, so it ended up just being, let me just come hang out, see everybody, hang out at the Raccoon Creek Outfitters booth, the Loveland Canoe, anyone, at the Crescents, hang out at go see all, everyone you want to see at the Columbus show. Andrew from Tackle Talk.
Yep.
Oliver Nye's been there the last few years. Now a couple of one of my better friends, I would say, in the Major League Fishing Elite Series anglers that I'm friends with, Fred Rumbanis was there speaking. And he's like just one of my best friends on that side of the world. And it was just so cool to see him, hang out with him. So I was just kind of there to see all my friends, see Ike, pretty good friends with Ike too. Not as close as with Fred, but seeing and saying hey to him and just all the cool stuff at the Columbus show. You got to see, man, you want to just keep naming everybody, all the Dark Horse Tackle Boys, of course, the Ashegan guys that were there. Yeah. You got the Catch Podcast guys, Brad and Matt. I mean, everybody's just kind of there. So you want to be a part of that whole thing, and it's just so close to. It really is one of the best shows, I think so, because it's small, but it's not too overwhelming, but yet a lot of big names end up just at that show. So
yeah, it's fun. I show up at 10. Cool. And by the time I get to the back of the show and go down the aisles and have all the conversations and do all the videos, it's 3 o'clock every bit of 5 hours before I'm done.
Yeah.
And I'm kind of moving along. So it was a blast. Yeah. If you guys are interested, obviously we're unable to go. I have the video dropping 9:30 on Thursday a.m. and you can go along for the ride. And all the people a lot of people that Drew mentioned just now are
Fishing with Grant. JT, yep, he was there.
He was there on Saturday, yeah, 100%. Oh, he was. Yep. Oh, Friday. He was there Friday.
Friday, yep.
Awesome. That's right. I mean, I'm more interested in how was Paw Patrol? That sounds amazing.
Dude, Paw Patrol was pretty good actually. It was pretty good.
Paw Patrol on Ice or something? What was it?
It was live. I didn't want to go out and get pretzels and concessions. They're like, go get us something to eat. I'm like, I don't want to miss the show. I got to see what happens. Is Victoria Vance going to win? Is she going to take over the world or not? I don't know. So anyway, I had to go out and get the snacks, and I missed some parts, but it was pretty good.
All right, the kids loved it. Got to watch another one.
Yeah.
So great show. If you guys are around the Columbus area, I mean, I drove 2 hours to get down there. Next year, gonna have it again. Love to meet you there. Let's switch gears a little bit. Let's talk. And I know you've been on like everybody and their mother's podcast talking about this, but I don't have a lot of time to like watch other people's podcasts when you run your own, trying to get guests, doing them on video, doing the content. We had Garrett Wade on last week, and he was talking about his time out on Havasu. He was talking about on Kissimmee Chain. And so we heard his experience on Havasu, but you obviously took home the W. And so walk us through a little bit for those who maybe never heard it before. I know you probably have your talking points dialed in.
See, I can refresh.
Give us the juice.
I could share some video files since we're live here, and if you guys want,
I want.
You want some? All right,
go for it.
Basically, I found this school of fish. Let's just pull up whatever random video this is.
If this is the one where they chase,
they can't chase them like every.
This is the one. I think this is the one.
Oh, there it goes. Okay, it was weird for me. It looked weird for a second.
Clear.
This is such a cool video. I think I just saw this today.
Actually, this one is. Yeah, they definitely chase on every single bite, but this is not. Let's see which one this is. This is the one. The only one I caught on that yak rod spinning rod. There's one right there chasing. There's just a whole school of them swimming around. You can see them up the top of the screen. That's a good one.
Hey, if this was Kayak Adventure Series, Drew, you throw another rod out there, right?
Exactly. You could, as long as it's legal in that state. I don't know. It's not letting me scrub forward for some reason. Usually it lets you scrub. I don't know why it's not letting me. But either way, so that you can see there's one swimming away at the top of the screen up there.
Yep.
In the sand. So basically, I found this school and the ugliest, most longest straightaway section of
school, but they're all like 17.
The river is Colorado River.
All right, guys, that's a beaut. 17 inches.
See, 17-incher for that one. And I'll bring up some more. But we got to find the one where there's a bunch of them chasing. But basically, I'll set it up because it's hard to do two things at once. And I only had 1 day to practice. I flew out there with my buddy Jake Cook, and who from Northeast Ohio here as well, and basically just was it was kind of like, hey, this is well before the KAS season is going to start, so it kind of gives me a chance to get a tournament in. I didn't plan on it at all. Actually, my wife had a big girls trip planned that weekend with her mother and aunts and sister-in-law and everybody. They were going to like do that, and I was on the calendar for watching the kids. And I didn't realize that. And I started like planning and getting excited about maybe even getting a flight out there. I found some cheap flights, and then I brought it up to her, and she was like, you should have checked the calendar first. You're watching the kids. Yeah, exactly.
You're on Paw Patrol duty, my man.
Yeah, I was. Yeah. So anyway, ended up that one, I don't know who it was. One of the girls couldn't make that weekend work, so they had to move it. And then she told me there's a chance I could maybe make it happen. So then I went back to the flights again, found $150, $160 flight round trip Frontier out of Cleveland. So I didn't even have to go to, Columbus when there were some cheaper ones in Columbus, even to Vegas, which is what started to pique my interest. I've fished out there before, not Havasu, but Colorado River and Yuma, which is south of that lake.
Okay.
It's very similar still, it's clear water. And, but it was 8-9 years ago. It was a long time ago, but I've always wanted to go back. It was like one of the coolest experiences I've ever had, flipping in these giant toolies laying over in this river that's flowing, and with a giant, like 8-inch soft plastic jerkbait, called it's a Z-Man Streaks, but it's a Streaks XL, giant one, and letting it just swirl, just flip it in there as you're drifting down, let it swirl a few times, pop it a couple times, and then pull it out and do it again as you just keep flipping by. And I, caught some nice 20-inch bass. And it was just so cool to watch their eats. And I was like, man, I really would love to get back there. And then I thought about it, guys. Like, you actually, if you're flying for $150, I can't drive to Dardanelle or Lake Fork or Possum Kingdom or Grand Lake or whatever. I can't, Toledo Bend. I can't drive there for less than the 150. Not even close. I mean, for gas, it's going to be a couple $100 probably, and from Ohio at least. Plus, you're driving around, So I said, well, really, this is less than even a normal tournament. And when Jake came on board and he said, well, let's rent a pickup truck, and it wasn't too bad. We both split it, so it wasn't that bad. I mean, $150 a piece actually to have it for the whole week. And we got some Dodge Ram truck pickup. So
things are cheaper here in Ohio, folks.
Yeah. So anyway, we ended up getting it from the airport and renting it. And it was really just about the same amount as the travel, gas and my own truck would have cost me to go. The tricky part was getting my kayak and stuff out there. So Joe McElroy was nice enough. I got my kayak to him, all my gear and stuff like before Christmas, or right around Christmas, all to Joe. And that's a whole nother long story about how that happened. But anyway, I finally got it to him and he drove it all out there for me. So I had all my own stuff. I just had to fly out. I roll in, Jake and I roll in, Wednesday night, super late. We get in at like 3:30 a.m. So technically Thursday morning. We were just whipped. We sleep in. We get all of our stuff together I made a phone call and got him a borrowed kayak, an Old Town from Scott Stolman from Minnesota, who was driving there. The Newport guys hooked him up with a motor since they were the sponsor of that series. He's set, but it takes time that day to like recover from getting in at 3:30 and getting all of our stuff together, getting it in the truck, making sure we get everything rigged up. And then we didn't even get on the water that first day of practice. Thursday, we drove around, looked at some ramps, checked some water temperature with my digital meat thermometer, kitchen thermometer at the ramps, just started plugging it in the water. And, I already knew the river was going to be a little bit warmer, even though you wouldn't think moving water would be warmer. Clear moving water would be warmer than the lake, but upstream. Now, if you go to the Omnia app, I'm sponsored by Omnia. That app is great. The Omnia Pro, it gives you water temperature, and it's historical data and real-time data. I think it's coming soon, but historically, you can see the river is warmer in the winter than the lake by a couple degrees, which doesn't seem like a big deal, but for a cold-blooded species like a bass, that is a pretty big deal. And I found them sunning in the shallow water. But anyway, I knew that I already knew it was going to be warmer because there's a dam about 25 miles up and it's a tail race. Well, that water comes out below the thermocline, so it comes out a little warmer in the winter than the actual Lake Havasu temperature would be, if that makes sense. It actually comes out a little bit warmer, and then that already gives that water that's coming down to me 25 miles down to me a head start being a little bit warmer as it hits the environment. So I knew it was going to be a little bit warmer anyway. Dustin Hoy from Raccoon Creek's in the chat. I see him. What's up, buddy? So we saw him there this past weekend. But I knew that it was going to be a little bit warmer. And then I went there and I confirmed, the Omnia app said it would be. I confirmed it with my digital thermometer. And we got on the water on Friday, one day pre-fishing. And basically the story goes like this. I'm standing up just looking for fish. I'm not really, at the very beginning of my trip, I did see a few and I just needed to find out if I could catch them. If you see them, I was like, okay, it's crystal clear. I need to see, can I catch these fish in crystal clear water with my style, straight braid? I knew I was going to throw that Z-Man Gobius because it worked in super clear water at Lake Tenkiller on the Illinois River where I went up to win the championship. It was crystal clear. It was cold water, all the same conditions that I knew I was going to have in Havasu. I told Joey at Z-Man, our pro staff manager, I said, dude, send me if you can send me just a bunch of Gobius, just please do, all different weights and sizes and colors. And he sent them to me, and that's all I really needed. I mean, quite honestly. So I caught the fish. The first fish I caught, caught a couple small ones, and I caught one that was like 15 inches that I saw, 10 feet down, deep down. I threw at it and caught it. So then I knew I could catch them. So then I just floated the whole 13 miles of Blah River, and I'll do something for you real quick too that'll help us get a visual, because hey, we have this technology here. We might as well use it, right, boys?
Heck yeah.
Let's use it. Did you have any company up there, up the river in practice or the event? Did you have anybody else up there with you, or did you have it all to yourself?
Yeah, I had some other people there. I will share my screen and I'll show you where kind of they were and where I was. I guess I'll just get the map up and I'll just go over there so you can kind of see. Get some. I've got lots of pins here. See, I even got pins here of where I saw fish and stuff. But anyway, I was in. I'm not going back here, so I don't really care. It doesn't say what. It doesn't really say what pin is what. But so I floated this whole. This was our boundary right here. This bridge in Needles, and I floated all the way down to this bridge here, the interstate, on the practice day. And you can tell. Look at this, guys. It's about as straight away as it gets. Right? There's no bends. There's nothing to it. It's boring. It's plain. It's in the middle of the, the valley. And look over here. See all these mountains right here?
Mm-hmm.
This is beautiful. This gorge and these mountains. This is the more scenic stuff that you probably are thinking, all these backwaters. I'm going to get in all here. I just didn't have enough time to explore all this. I mean, look, it just never ends. You can get into all these ponds and all these cool backwaters. And then there's you know, you can see how shallow it is and sandy and just kind of real. I mean, you get into all this stuff. Like if you explored it, I just didn't have enough time to like go and check out all these backwaters and all that. And so I figured, well, since I don't have enough time to fish the section that I really want to fish, that's the most scenic and find fish here, and I assume other people were probably, you know, focusing on that area or trying it. I want to fish the ugliest piece of water I can find, because if I find anything there, I got a feeling I can have it to myself, which was this straightaway here. It's just so boring. Like literally there's no trees. It's flat valley. It's just a little bit of riprap on either side, and there's just nothing to it. So anyway, I floated that section, and basically when I saw a few other fish and kind of marked them a little bit, but I didn't see anything enough fish to win. And then all of a sudden I'm just kind of cruising down again. I don't want to catch them. I just need to see them. You know what I mean? Like, so I'm just cruising down, looking at, and you can only look at one side of the river, the other. There's nothing in the middle. It's just sand. So you're on one side or the other, and I'm picking the side that I feel might look the best and has enough other rock or something in the water. Right. And at one point I just was on the phone with Jake, you know, asking his pre-fishing, I'm asking him how he's doing, where he's at. He went somewhere else that day with the truck. And I just looked down as I was on the phone. I was like, oh my goodness, I just rolled over a giant school of smallies. And that's like the real first, you know, I'd seen some onesies and twosies here and there, but it's like one every like a mile and a half or two, not like a ton of fish, just, and a bunch of carp and then nothing, just nothing. You don't see bait. You don't see bluegill. You see nothing, but every once in a while, a bunch of carp. And then every once in a while, like 2 miles, one smallmouth or maybe two, but it's not enough to win a tournament. You know what I mean? Right. Until I saw that school. And then I realized there was some fish here that actually could matter, because they all looked to be in the 16 to like 18 inch range. They weren't giants. And then I saw a few others, you know what I mean? So down from that, after I found that school and marked the school, it's one of those pins. So I can, you know, find them. But anyway, actually, I don't know if it probably is one of those pins. A lot of those pins I put before I even went out there. So I'm not sure if I used Google Maps on that one, or I was putting all my pins on Omnia Pro app. I can't remember, but for that pin that I saw there. But anyway, that was kind of the deal. I went there, and let's go back and pull up another fish catch or two, and then we'll get to the rest of this. But I knew that gobius was going to be the deal. I knew they would eat it, especially when you got competition, right? Let's see if
how many fish were in that school?
About 15.
Okay, yeah.
The problem is in clear water, you know, let's see, this is 17.5 inch. I don't know if this is the one. I mean, there's a lot of videos where they're following it, so there's probably going to be some following this one. But I had to be real quiet, real still, and throw over to the sandy area. But the here she comes.
Yeah, one of these videos.
Yeah, there we go. Here they go. They're going to start coming after it. There's another one.
One,
there's another
two,
one.
Three,
another one.
4.
There's another
5.
That's at least 5 that followed that one. That was 6 total, counting the fish.
Where's your second rod?
I know. I wish that would have been cool if we could do that.
When you fish that gobius, is it just a slow roll? You fish a different
well,
ways?
Not in the school. Everywhere else along this bank, that I also was finding fish on that bank too. Every once in a while, they're never in the same spot. The school was always in the gobius. See, there's the gobius. I switched up to the PB&J color after practice. I used the natural color. I wanted to give them a different look, but in the school, I would throw out there. Here's a good tip. This is some good juice right here. Because think about it. Like, I see tournament fishing as one big giant tournament. This is the way everyone should look at tournaments. Don't ever be bummed that you finished in 75th place or whatever it is, because you learned something. All of your life and all tournaments are one giant tournament. And I learned something on the Susquehanna one time when I found a giant school of, no kidding you, 75 to 100 smallmouth out in the middle of the river, floating all underneath the surface, about 12 inches under the surface to the surface, eating bugs. And they were all facing a different direction. They're all facing a different direction, looking for the dragonflies and all the bugs in the summer, because it was a hatch, right? And it was a very calm. There was like this part of the river that had, like, there's an island, there's some islands there, and so the river got cut into 1/4, right? And there's a good protection from the wind from a mountain, and the protection from the wind with the island trees. So and then there's also no big rapids or riffles there. They're in between some rapids and riffles, some smaller stuff, but it got like, it's slick calm because of the wind protection. And you can't eat bugs if there's a bunch of waves, you know what I mean, and wind on your water. You can't see them good. You need a crystal clear and very calm surface. So when I found these fish, I didn't have any finesse rods on me that tournament. Actually, it broke my spinning rod because this is the second place I launched that day. So I had no finesse stuff on me. All I had was a Z-Man Power Finesse cross-size jig and Pro Crawl's trailer that I like to put on it. So I said, well, let me see if I can get them to eat a crawl. You know, I fish straight braids, a 30-pound SX1 Sunline, crystal clear water. They're eating bugs. Like, how am I going to get these fish to bite, right? I throw out there, and because they're in a school, they're competitive. So you got that going for you in terms of like, they're not really focused on the line or any like that stuff. They just want to get it before the other one does. Then the next thing I did was never would throw out in the middle of the school, just right in the middle of them and just bust them all up between the line crease that it makes on the surface as it comes in. I actually threw, if you imagine, picture the school of 7,500 smallmouth is a circle. You want to throw on the outside perimeter of that circle and then draw a few of them towards your bait. So they still have the competition, but you're not blowing up the whole school and just bringing every one of them to you. You want to start picking them off one by one, as many as you can get out of that school. So I remember this is all one big tournament, right? So I learned that from the Susquehanna. So in Clearwater schools, I'm going to start picking them off a few at a time, hopefully just get it where it falls on the outskirts of where they're hanging out. And then hopefully 2 or 3 of them notice it and come over there. So you can't swim it in that situation. You got to let it go over there, let it fall, and let them see it and come over there. Gobius looks just like a sculpin or river darter, or obviously a goby. So I'm just kind of popping it. It lays flat on the bottom, just like a river darter, darts in between the rocks and stuff. So I just kind of popping it, barely like twitching it, which you'll see in some of the other videos. Just kind of barely popping that thing, moving it so it stirs the sand up, and it looks like he's kind of scooting along the bottom, you know. And then the next thing you know, it loads up and there's one on, and then they all chase it. So after you've pulled some out and you keep doing that shorter cast, eventually you do have to make a longer cast to try to reach some fish that haven't been disturbed yet, if that makes sense. So that's kind of how that happened. But so then on day 2, well, I did catch one. So I caught 4 out of that school on day 1 and this is the last fish I caught on day 1 that I actually culled with this fish. And this is kind of cool because there was a little bit of a murky, I had 2 main areas. It ended up being that school, and then right here there's a old sand quarry area. Not old, it's a new one.
Yeah.
They just dug it. I mean, it's if you look at satellite imagery, you can tell it's brand new, like 2-3 years old. And I see there's some murky water that's coming in. It's hard to tell it's murky, but the glare right there, but it's a little bit murky and milky from that quarry, and the water's not moving much, so it's not pulling much of that milky water into the main river. But they hang out in that milky water right there. And I caught a largemouth there in practice. I caught a smallmouth there. Caught another largemouth there on day 2. So my fish mainly came from here.
I saw a little bit of a flash. This is probably Nicole.
Or the school. And there's one with this one too. You can see if you really focus, if you guys watch it back, if this is streaming clear, she's got a follower with her that's probably like 18, 19 inches.
Jeez, yeah. And this is in a tournament where the vast majority of people couldn't catch a limit.
Oh yeah,
that's difficult for folks. Yeah.
Super tough.
Yep.
Super tough tournament. I always feel like these are my best tournaments. I've always told people that, like, your grinders, like, are the ones that I'm the best at. You know, like if it's a slugfest, I'm usually not. I have pretty good finishes, but I'm not like usually winning those.
Mm-hmm.
It's the grinders that I'm really good at. Like I won Grand Lake, and that was kind of a grinder. I won Lake Dardanelle, and everyone that's known to be a
color right there.
tough grinder fishery. You know, Lewis Smith Lake was a grinder.
Wanted to give him a little bit.
The only slugfest I think I've ever won, really, or lake I would consider a slugfest would be like maybe Lake Champlain. You know, when I won the KBF Pro Series and the trail. But anyway, that was kind of, you know, this event for me, guys. Day 2, the biggest fish I caught was this one. We can at least show it. There was a bonus fish I caught on day 1 on a riprap as I'm going to my first spot. I was looking down when it got light enough, and I saw a fish on day 1, a smallmouth on this riprap bank that I didn't investigate on day on the practice day. It was the opposite side that I went down. So as I was going up on day 1, I was looking in the water and I saw a smallmouth, and I stopped and started casting when I saw one, because usually there's more in the area. And then on the day 2 here, I decided I was going to start a little sooner on that whole section of water and get a low light bite, you know, before I got to my spot.
That's a good one. That's a good
Oh.
one, dude. Please stay.
There's
So this
no
was-
other kayakers around you. I haven't seen a single
No.
kayak in any of your backgrounds.
No.
Are they
It's
on the
ugly.
lake?
There are some. I launched with on day one. I launched with maybe 6 or 7 other guys at that launch.
Okay.
I think most of them went downstream towards that big gorge I was telling you about, or they hung out by the bridge there at the interstate.
Oh, dude.
You know what I mean?
Thank you,
Or
Jesus. Oh my Lord.
they
No way
packed
that
up and went somewhere
freaking
else.
happened.
And there were some other people that actually were launching at a different launch in the river there that
17
never.
3/4, guys.
But I did see
Literally
one
my
other
second
angler that was
cast.
right on
17
the area
3/4.
on day one.
This is unreal.
He said that because I kind of left the area.
Yeah.
And I left that area I for a little while. I was moving up towards that milky water area with that sand barge thing and dredge, whatever it was. And so when I came back down, it taken him all day, and he'd gotten up to the area where I'd been catching my fish and seeing them. And I was like, oh, good grief. And he's standing up with a motor guy just looking for fish. So he knew what he was doing, and he was in the right area, and but he only had one fish. When I talked to him, I said, you got any, and he said he only had one. So I was like, okay, I just got to hope he doesn't it didn't really matter if he saw him, because I kind of caught him. I'd caught him so good and I already kind of had wore him out in that little area. So he probably wasn't going to get any to bite anyway, but, he just could only get one to bite. They were kind of in a flat. They were sunning themselves. They were in like 3 feet of water, and there was a little depression that went kind of shallow, like up to like 1 foot. And there was some mossy algae stuff on these humps. You can see it on the map. If you go on Google Maps and look at the West Bank, there is some area that have some like more algae looking mossy stuff that every once in a while just kind of comes up on that sandy kind of dirt clay or whatever. And it is a little harder. So it's not like, it's keeping it some structure there. So then like there's a little depression after it. They were kind of sitting in that hole, and they were kind of all on that bank. Because you think about it, you've got the wind coming from the west, right? So which bank's going to be protected? The West Bank, because it's blowing, you know what I mean? It's going to be calm. You got the sun coming from the east, southeast. So which bank's going to get more sun? Same bank. So then because the water is the same temperature in a river, the entire water column, most people think wintertime, you got to go deep and all that. And that's true for lakes, but in the river, not always, because there's no thermocline. You don't need to find the deepest hole in that river. There were some that are 20 and 30 feet deep. If you see Mark Cisneros, the camera guy for Bassmaster, got some great drone shots of me. And some of these shots where you see it kind of darker blue, it's like 20 and 30 feet deep. You wouldn't know it because it's so clear in those drone shots, but they weren't in those deep on the jetties. There were some jetties coming out from campgrounds and other things like rocky jetties. And I'm sure they get on that stuff other times of year, but these fish were using a flat, and it was a Western bank flat that was shallower, and that darker algae stuff and even the sand and all that it was getting warmer the same way that we know if you go behind a building without the wind, it feels warmer to us. You know what I mean? If it's 55 degrees, it might be 63 degrees in the sun without the wind behind a building. And that's kind of what they were doing. So I just kind of stumbled onto them. And I was looking for that. Don't get me wrong. The whole section, I was looking for a flat where fish were trying to sun themselves to get warmer, because this is the coldest it gets there all year, like basically. So anyway, that's what they were doing. They weren't deep. They were shallow, and that's why they were shallow. So but I was swimming the bait to kind of go back to one of your early questions. When I was fishing the banks that I didn't really know the exact spot they were hanging out, like the school, I would swim it, and still in that 8-pound test, spinning rod, 8-pound test, SX1 Sunline, moss green, just swim it. And,
that makes sense. I grew up on the Susquehanna River, like right on it, like in Halifax, like central Pennsylvania.
Yep.
And growing up, we would use tubes, like little tubes. We'd go out there all summer and throw tubes, catch 100 bass a day on the Susquehanna. So
I bet they would have bit that.
It reminds me of like a little tube, the goby. It's kind of similar.
It does, man. I mean, I'm sure they would have hit a tube for sure. It's like, I always tell people, I mean, this isn't to downplay Z-Man and how good that bait is. It's a great bait, but I always tell people we get a little too caught up in, all these baits. I could have taken 100 different baits, if you rig it right with the right line. And, lures are so good these days by all these companies.
Mm-hmm.
Honestly, it's like, you just got to know how to present the bait, rig it right properly, and present it on the right setup. They're going to eat it. You know what I mean? They're just going to eat it. They would have eaten anything. Drop shot, a flatworm. They would eat a lot of other Z-Man baits, a tube. They would have probably eaten any of that stuff, but it's just what you have confidence in. And for me, it was that single hook it's not a giant hook. But it's not dainty, like little teeny treble hooks or a drop shot hook or something that's just, it's so dainty that I don't like to fish it. I want a real, like, 8-pound test, even though it's straight braid, it's 8-pound test. It's got little stretch. I want to be able to, you can still power them pretty decent with the 8-pound test and get a single hook in their mouth, all the way to the barb like that. So I always want to catch fish on single hook baits if I can. Like power fishing and single hook baits are my deal. But I was definitely, pretty shocked to win that tournament because I, wasn't my home water. I only had one day on the water there, and flying in and flying back with this trophy was crazy, man. Like the pilot, when we landed, it was pretty cool. He was like, "Congratulations to Drew Gregory for winning the Bassmaster Kayak Series on Lake Havasu." And now it was a red eye, but and Jake Cook was on the plane. He probably can attest. I'd say it was cool. Like half the plane still heard and listened, and they cheered. It was cool. And shout out to Jake. He's the one that actually told a flight attendant was asking about why I was carrying the trophy and all that. And they saw that we walked in together, and our seats were separate. We didn't want to pay to get the, assigned seat. So we were just risking it, gambling that we could sit together, but he ended up sitting his seat was in the very back by the lavatories. And the flight attendant asked him. Yeah, the worst. But they're like, "What's the deal with that guy with the trophy you came in with?" And then he told them what was going on. So that's why they knew, what to say over the loudspeaker. That was pretty cool though. I wish I had that on video, because I'll never forget this one. Like the championship was unbelievable. But which I don't know what that one is, but that was unbelievable. But this is like so unique and different. I almost feel like it meant just as much, if not more. And it was my 10th national win, which was like pretty cool to get to double digits, which I never thought, I'd win once. When you start this stuff, you guys all listening are in a similar boat. Like you're on a journey of your lifelong tournament, and you're hopefully taking something in and learning something here that's going to help you win one as well. And after that first one, you're going to say, "I wonder if I can win again," or "I wonder if I can win AOI." And then you just keep going and keep learning. And obviously it can't happen for everybody, but you guys can do it. I mean, it's possible. I never thought I'd win once, but here I am with 10. So it's crazy.
At one point in your life, you had nothing behind you. You had no trophy next to you. You had no check behind you. And so,
yeah, it's true.
You put in the work. And I think it's important to realize, like, what is synapsing through your brain, right? You're thinking about the win. You're thinking about the banks. You're thinking about, there's a lot that you're thinking about that most anglers are not. And so if you want to increase your game, those are the things you're going to have to start thinking about to compete at this level. And I think I noticed when I had you on the show before, when you're doing your pre-fishing breakdown and while you're trying to figure out your spot, while you're fishing, all of these things that you're thinking through, it's typically not what's going through an angler's mind. But
yeah, that's true. Like, I think I do look at things a little bit different from a different perspective, the entire environment from a 30,000 foot view. I kind of learned where they're going to be from that level first, and I just zoom right in on it. And it doesn't always work. I mean, we're talking here like it does. It doesn't always work. Fishing is tough, but I will say that an A spot that's obvious that everyone knows about, that's a community hole. What I look for are not A spots. I don't ever want some obvious A spot. It's not a winning spot in a tournament. That's a sharing the fish with other people through practice and the tournament, 2 days of a tournament spot that could end up in a check. If you're the best of everyone else who fished it, who shared it with you, you can certainly get a check that way. I've done that before. I mean, it's not fun. I don't like to be around other people, see other people and share it. And typically you don't win out of a spot like that. So I literally avoid those spots. I kind of try to do my research and figure out where people are going to be and where it, or what looks the most appealing. Like that canyon, that gorge was so beautiful. The mountains, it was like, that's where I wanted to be scenic wise. But I knew if I could just find fish, if I had one day to go out there, if I could just find fish in that most boring section of river, then I would have them to myself, most likely. And if I didn't find fish, I would go YOLO down that gorge and just find them on the day of the tournament, because I only had 1 day of practice on the water. And I probably could have, just the same way I stumbled on those fish. In practice, I caught 5 fish, and I caught a limit in practice. So I could catch a limit again down, like my first day without ever being there, I caught a limit. And I when you think about it, that was good for that tournament. So if I do that twice, And then the top, what is it? 6 people had a limit both days or something. I think 6.
Yeah.
Very few.
So I would have gotten 6th place if I had the worst of all. So I knew it's going to be a grinder. It's going to be tough. A limit's going to go a long way. We didn't know it was going to go that long. But anyway, I knew I could always YOLO down that gorge and probably find hopefully 6 fish, but didn't have to. So because I found them on so anyway,
Yeah.
but
I mean, what you just told me is that you didn't go to your A spot. You actually went to the B spot first.
yeah.
That's that.
Yeah.
That's how you
I
did
wanted
it.
to have it.
You could, you're like the A spot is all the curvy bends and all those places that you
Yeah,
can
it
go
looks
and
so good.
explore. But no,
It
you
would
had
take
them all to
too
yourself.
long. It would just take too long to explore that gorge. Because think about it, the largemouth are on the backwaters, smallmouth are on the main river. That's kind of the way it works there. So it would have just taken too long to, and you have to get off the water at 4:00 on Friday. It's my only day to practice, so you don't even have a full day. But basically, there's one last thing I was gonna say that was cool. Oh, this is the cool thing. This is some juice for you guys, and we'll move on to whatever else we got to talk about there. I see lots of people in the comments. You guys are awesome. Thanks for tuning in. Chris Mitchell, great job down there in Florida, man. Look, the thing I want to say is ask yourself when you start catching bass, because you hit on this a second ago, Wendell. You did. Why? When you find them, if you didn't know why they were there, you need to always answer the question why every fish you caught was where it was. You need to go through and start to figure it out. Look around, figure out what it is, water clarity, the type of vegetation, if there's a transition between on the bank between rock and sand or vegetation transition or depth. It doesn't matter. You've got to learn why. If you can keep learning why you caught every fish and where you caught it, that's when you start putting the pattern together. But if you can't answer that question, it doesn't matter to me. If someone tells me fish are on the points or fish are on docks or fish are on humps or whatever, it's all irrelevant. I want to know why they are there, because that helps me as an angler in the future. You know what I mean? Sure, that might help you for that moment. Oh, they're here. You're just going to go do that, which I don't get any information from anybody. So no one says that to me. I don't ask, even when it's legal. I don't ask other people. I don't talk to other people. I only go in my own information. It sounds, I do it because I just feel like if someone gives you information, you feel like you got to give them something back. You know what I mean? And I feel like the information I've got is probably the better. Yeah. I feel like I can on my own figure it out. And I like that. It's kind of like why I don't use a net. I like the old school, like the Bassmaster, like just grabbing it with your hand. And the net always messes me up. It's one more thing I have to take. It just feels the way like bass fishing should be to me. I'm using mostly single hook baits, so I really don't need a net. Like, you know what I mean? Anyway. Yeah. So that's like the Drew style power fishing and single hook baits, swim baits, chatter baits, jigs, buzz baits, things like that. So I don't really need a net. But anyway, that's just kind of like, I feel like I probably know more than most of the people that, you know what I mean? I'm talking with, plus it can throw you off, because how do you know how accurate their information is, or
if they just heard it from somebody else and they're just repeating it.
Yeah. It just messes you up. Like I said, I've got lots of friends on the major circuits now, just being in the industry as long as I have. And I mean, I've actually been on the phone with them before, and it's commonplace in that world. You just, if it's within the limits of time frame you're allowed to get information, they'll just start telling me stuff, and I'm like, okay, cool, whatever. Like it doesn't matter to me. I'm not going where your boat goes, like offshore. I'm not going to fish there. Miles Berghoff one time he was so nice, like, dude, Chickamauga's, oh, this freaking lake's awesome, you got to go check out. There's schools of like thousands of bass out here in these offshore areas and blah blah. I'm like, it doesn't matter, Miles. I don't want to be there. That's not why I got a kayak. I'm not going to be there. It's great that you've got some juice and he's nice enough to share something, but it's like, doesn't matter to me, man. I'm gonna go catch fish that you guys can't. That's what I love to do in a kayak. So,
well, here's the thing, folks. It's working for him. I was on your website today, Drew, and I was looking at your data sheet that you have up there, and these are all the tournaments that Drew has fished since 2022, right? And in your tournaments,
2020, yeah.
27,
17 or 18. I fished a couple of those few years, yeah.
You did all the math, and I loved it, because what it said is that you fished against, he's not winning all these tournaments against like 10 people, folks. There's an average of 138 anglers in every single one of the tournaments that he's fished. Out of those 138 anglers, he finishes in the top 10% every time on average. That's it. Top 10%. Listen,
Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah, 14th out of 140.
14th, yeah, 14th place out of 138 is my average, which is top 10%. But which is crazy because it's a lot of pressure on me now that I know that. Now it's a lot of tournaments. I won tournaments. But dude, I told the guys at the house in after I was in whatever place I was in after day one at that tournament. I can't even remember what place I was in. I was up there though. Second place, I think. Yeah, second. And the guys in the tournament, the SoCal guys, are so cool. You know, Shane Lamont and everyone over there that stayed at the house with us. And they were like, you know, it was just stressful because I was like, my average finish is there's 11 people in that tournament. So I should finish 11th place.
Right.
Or if I finish worse than 11th, then my average goes down. So I'm always trying to fight.
Down. Yeah.
Brings my average down. So I'm always like fighting with myself. And it's good to keep numbers like that, guys. I mean, I've got a spreadsheet, and the way it calculates all the math and everything.
Yep.
Susie helped me with it. Susie Roloff. And it's really cool. So I just input it all but it's good to keep the numbers so you can see your progress. That's really what it is. It's great to see your progress. It's all one big tournament, but it does get me stressed out now because my average went down in Kissimmee. I was 35th out of 224. Right. So that was like 15th percentile or 16th or so. I don't know, somewhere in the teens. It wasn't but 10. So anyway, it's funny because I'm always fighting with myself. Like, oh God, I got to finish like top 10 or else.
That's hard to keep up with, man. It's hard to keep a top 10 finish on average. That's tough.
It's very tough. But anyway, it's fun, man. It makes this, I'm a numbers guy. It makes it interesting. It's a good thing to keep up with for sure. So it's a big fun journey, and appreciate you guys all support and everyone in the comments. Hopefully you're learning something because, you know, my time will be fading soon, I'm sure. I mean, I'm getting older, getting more focused on other stuff, Kayak Adventure Series and other. It's like Ike and anyone else, you know, you get more business stuff, opportunities come up, and that you hope happens, right, from the successes within, you know, the industry that I've been in for a while now, and now with tournaments, successes there too. You got to take advantage of those, and when you do that, that takes up your time from, you know. But
good. Anyway. Open the door for the rest of us. Thank you, Drew. Appreciate you taking these opportunities.
I've got a business opportunity for you. 5 of them, Drew. 5 of them.
Yeah. Fortunately for me, my wife I never met her, didn't show up in my life till I was 35. So I did a lot of fishing when I was younger until I was 35. So even though I don't go fishing now, other than these tournaments, which just sounds like crazy, that I just
you just go from tournament to tournament. You just don't
go to the tournament, and I come home and I hang out with the family, and I take them on the water when it's nice weather. But I'm not really like fishing here locally, but I at least can still I've had a lot of experience on the water to hone the skills that a lot of you guys are out there learning now and getting that time in the water now to continue to progress. So I'll still be competitive, I think, for a little while longer. And then eventually, you know, it's
speaking of bringing your family on the water, Seth, bro.
Yeah.
This past week, tell everyone the story if they haven't seen it, because it's gone out to half a million plus people.
We have a video that has like 500,000 views from the weekend. But I mean, we're trying to be more intentional with the kids and get them more experiences. I have an 8-year-old, a 6-year-old, and a 4-year-old, all girls. So we're trying to get them out. And Friday, I got off work a little bit early. We had a few hours, ended up having like an hour and a half to 2 hours to hit a little lake by our house. So I'm like, all this work, take the 3 kayaks. So my 8 and my 6-year-old, we tow them on a kayak now. Mm-hmm. So we have like a rope and tow them. There's a bunch of gators, but we're like, hey, you're not allowed to get off the kayak at all. Stay on the kayak, no swimming or anything. So we get out there, and my wife's relatively new to kayak fishing. She didn't really grow up fishing too much. But I mean, she uses a bait caster. She just throws a Senko, and in a Senko in Florida, you can hammer them pretty well. So I'll put her in some lily pads, like some scattered lily pads. And I'm like on the other side of the lake, a few hundred yards away. And she did this last year too. I hear her yelling, and I look over, and she's reeling it in. And she's like, I got a big one. Come here. And I'm like, all right. How big is big, right? Like, well, I don't know.
I think it's 12.
Yeah. She don't fish very often. So a big one could be a 3-pounder, right? Yeah.
Yeah. I get over there, and she caught a 9.2. 9.28 is what it was. Yeah. It's pretty awesome. And then when she goes to land it, don't let her, I see you, FKBT. Yeah. When she goes to land it, she pulls the line, like, because she gets nervous.
Boat flip it.
Right.
She tries to boat flip it.
She's pulling the line, and the bass like comes like halfway up the kayak and then slides. I'm like, no, don't do that. And in the excitement of it all, I told her to grab it by the tongue. I meant to say lip it, like grab it by the lip, and I say grab it by the tongue. Like there was just so much coming out. My kid saying she has to go to the bathroom. Like anyway, it was funny. It was a good event. So, yeah,
that's
cool. Grab it by the tongue.
What part of Florida are you in? Yeah, grab by the tongue.
I'm south of Tampa, southwest.
Oh yeah.
So
cool.
I'll be at Ocalapalooza, and I'm looking forward to it.
That is going to be fun, man. I'm so excited. So,
and that's the segue, folks.
Yeah, segue.
That's the segue. Let's talk KAS. The first question I want to set you up with, Drew, is why did you start the KAS, right? And what separates it from other? Like, you're just not going to create another tournament series that looks like every other tournament series. So, what's the inspiration behind it all?
I mean, it's funny how like life is and how like God kind of works and whatnot, but. So I got into kayak fishing to fish wild places, that boats couldn't go. I had a little bass boat in college, but mostly growing up canoes and wade fish creeks. My dad and I had a little John boat with a small, 9.9 horsepower and went to a lot of electric only lakes. So I've always fished kind of smaller waters and places where the kayak is really the best. A lot of rivers, creeks. And so that's like where kayak fishing boom really began, because our lakes were already overcrowded with bass boats. And, they kind of hit a limit. Once lakes get so crowded, there's kind of like it caps out with the number of people that are pretty much going to be in that sport in that area of the country, or it just tops out at a certain number, because a certain number of people are probably getting out of the sport because they're so tired of how crowded it is on the lake. And then you get a few people coming into it. So it kind of like balance level. There's always a limit. It's like a golf course can only have so many people playing on it on one day. That's it.
Right.
There's a max. And lakes are always going to be like that. Our sport got to this point where that's where it was. But then kayak fishing came along and we could get into these wild places. And I got into it, in 2004 and realized like, wow, this is perfect. I can get in and explore all my wild places, but it's a lot. I can cover more water than just wade fishing. This is like perfect for me. So then all of a sudden, I do stuff with Jackson, design with them. I did a TV show, Hooked on Wild Waters. I ran a tournament trail called the River Bassin Tournament Trail for about 7 years. And that was fun. The sport wasn't quite, it was a little bit ahead of its time, and it was just rivers. So occasionally you had some problems with flooding, stuff like that, where the whole tournament, like, what do you do? Just schedule it or cancel it? It's hard to reschedule a big national event. I find, I meet my wife and have kids. It's kind of like, all right, well, let's stop doing that tournament trail, because there's some things that aren't working with it anyway. But then I get into this fishing, this national stuff. When Matt Ball won the national championship for KBF, he won it out of a Kusa HD that I designed, so it's my signature series kayak. And then someone from Jackson reached out and said, dude, this guy just won the KBF national championship in our boat. And I was like, no way. Like, that's incredible. So I reached out to him and he said, well, I got to be there next year at this tournament. So, and then I showed up, and as you saw on that stats on drewgregory.com, my website, like 2017 or 18, I fished the open division. I was like, well, I'm here, might as well fish, right? I'm not like a huge tournament fisherman, but I've fished some in the past, but I was like, all right, might as well fish it. And of course, there's a lot of pressure on me then, because I got my name and my signature kayak out there, a Kusa HD. I designed all these kayaks, hooked on Wild Waters. I hosted. So there's a little bit of pressure. I was feeling it. Heart was beating a little bit at that one. Like, all right, I got to like at least do pretty good, respectable. I don't remember. I finished. We can go look at the spreadsheet. I don't remember, but it was in the top. It was like there was 300 people in that tournament in the open division, not the national championship, the open, which you could also enter. Didn't have to qualify for. I think I might have finished in the teens or something like that. And that allowed me to fish the next tournament, right? The next year without fishing any trail stuff. I'm just automatically qualified. So I fished the next one. And then the same thing happened again the next year. Then Yak Attack said, you might want to start, maybe not do your TV show anymore and just fish tournaments because you're doing really good. So one of my sponsors suggested that. And so then I ended up focusing on tournaments. Well, then I'm doing really good in my style of watercraft. The reason why a lot of people, why kayak fishing boomed to begin with, all the waters that the bass boats can't get into, at some point, that's that kind of water, the rule sets and the formats, and it's no fault of anybody. No one's like, to blame really. It's just whatever happened with our sport and industry. It's all worked out, for the good, right? It's what God's plan was. That after I won a tournament one year, and was protested, and then I appealed that protest and won the appeal because I had GoPro footage proving I never got out of my kayak. I got around this log. I got under this log. I got through it all. Didn't chainsaw anything down because even though it was 100% legal to do so back then, before, as long as it's before the tournament, I chose not to, so that why would I let my fish be accessible to everybody else? Only me and my little crescent could get under all those places to go to the wild fisheries that I love to fish and know how to fish it. So I left all the logs the way they were so I could get through it and nobody else could. And then it's a strategy, and I won the tournament, helped me secure AOI that year. It was my third Bassmaster win in a row. And that was a little bit like, come on, man. Like, I think some people out there, I don't know if they were frustrated or if people complained. I don't know what happened. No one's ever talked to me and told me what happened. All I know is, I put in it, a bridge, public bridge access. And then there was also access of a state park canoe and kayak launch on that stretch. And that's where I always launch is we could launch back in the day, KBF and other tournaments. You could launch from any public access you wanted to. As long as it's public, you could launch there. And no one really knows if anybody out there was launching somewhere that was illegal or private. I don't know. No one really knows, but no one knows now. We still don't know now because people aren't checking us in at our launches. No one's checking us in. No one knows. You could go click check in on TurnDX at a boat launch, drive away, in the middle of the night, and go launch at Joe Bob's backyard. And no one ever knows. So I don't really know. To me, it's still like, but it took away the whole purpose of the kayak to me. It's launching all the places boats can't launch. So I can still cover that entire lake if I want to, and quickly from my Toyota Tacoma and kayak in the back of the truck bed, launching at this park, launching at this boat ramp, launching at this bridge, launching at this, boom, 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 all the ways that, why kayak fishing is still awesome. And you can explore all these places. So the rules got changed, designated launches, no portaging. And that was the other thing. It's like, that's why we got into these kayaks, is to fish these wild places that when nature has a tree fall or something, all that water is still
right.
Yeah. That's why you got a kayak. It's lightweight, and the fish, the shad, the bluegill, everything still utilizes that. So why would, and it's safer to portage around a rapid or under a log or something than it is to try to go under a strainer, you know what I mean? Or something like that. It's way safer. So to me, I felt the rules, I wanted them to be, with a new series that started, to be a little I felt a little safer for everyone, and let you just take advantage of what makes the kayak. Because why are we trying to duplicate the bass boat sport when we've got that? Like, it's like sand volleyball and indoor volleyball, or dirt racing and pavement racing, concrete tracks. They're both racing, but they're different. So to me, it's like when we keep trying to adjust our rules and put in so many rules to where we're just trying to mirror what bass boat's doing. It's like, that's like taking sand volleyball and saying, hey, instead of wearing swimsuits, let's wear shorts and shirts. Let's put sneakers on. Let's pack the sand down as hard as we can. Everybody get it real, real hard. So it's almost just like a gymnasium floor. And now let's play some sand volleyball. And it's like, no, man, we're different. Kayak is different. It's unique. Let's celebrate what makes it unique and different, which it's not just the skinny, shallow water and wild places I like to fish. It's actually the fact that it can do all the above. You can throw live scope on it. You can go out in the middle of I fish the Atlantic. I fish the Gulf. I fish, which I guess it's Gulf of America now. Anyway, that's crazy. Yeah. Whatever. But then I fish the Pacific. I've gone everywhere to kayak, and there you can argue it's actually safer in a lot of ways than a boat if you know what you're doing. So let's celebrate that. We can fish offshore. We can fish the creeks. We can fish the rivers. We can launch wherever we want. Let's keep what makes the kayak, the kayak. Let's keep the kayak and kayak fishing, what makes it special and unique, in play, so that we can, it's like the UFC. Now everyone's different styles, whether you are a live scoper, power poles, Torpedo, Newport motors, everything you want. Let's let them have what they want, all the lakes and all, all the, lake bodies of water in play, but then still allow people that want to launch with 3 rods or just can't afford, that's all they can afford, just a little cheap $500 kayak and 2 or 3 rods, and they still have a good equal shot. Unlike bass boat world these days, if you don't have live scope, you're done. You got to have a very expensive boat, a live scope. Let's make kayak fishing, keep it the soccer of the fishing world. Let's keep it as inexpensive as possible, and make the rule set in the format where everybody has a real good shot at winning, whether you're just a simple kayaker in a creek or you do have more, blessed to be in a stage of your life that you've got some more funds to afford whatever you want. And the beauty is it actually has worked out really well, because most of our events last year, you'll notice it was like, Lake won, then Creek was second, third was Lake, fourth was River, fifth was River, sixth was Creek, seventh was Lake, eighth was Lake. It lets people just kind of choose their own adventure, which is kind of the slogan we've adopted. And it's worked out great because no one has any sort of advantage over someone else's style. And even if people start to realize that, like, oh, wow, the creeks are dominating, well, that's just going to put more anglers on the creeks at some point. They're going to swerve towards that. And then, like we talked about earlier in the podcast, an A spot is not an A spot when 15 people or 20 people are sharing it between pre-fishing, they practiced it, and then the tournament. So the anglers will always sort itself out. You don't need to like knee-jerk react and change it. We don't need to change a bunch of stuff real quickly. The anglers will always figure it out if one strategy is dominating it. And it's kind of like, I don't know if it was because people were upset or complaining. I really don't know. I hope it wouldn't be the case, because that defies what sports are all about. If somebody like if Shaun White can do 3 inverted tricks on the half pipe, you don't see the other Olympians complaining, saying we need to cut it to 2, where everyone's only allowed to do 2. No one can do 3 because I can't do 3 and he can. I hope to God that's not why it changed. That defeats the whole point of sports, is to push our limits and see how far as humans we can go. And that I just hope that wasn't what it was. But I know the rules got changed, and that said, I said to myself, I can't be the reason. It felt like I was the reason, people call it the Gregory rules. It felt like I was the reason the rules got changed, which is odd because I never broke a rule. I never have put in anywhere that wasn't public, and, and they changed the rules to kind of were like along those lines. So why did they change? Well, anyway, they call it the Gregory rules. If they want to, that's fine. But I never broke any of those rules, obviously. So I thought, well, that sucks, man. Like, I don't want to be the reason. Like the reason I got into kayak fishing to fish these wild places is now, and I'm the one who now might be seen as, or gone down in my history or legacy one day, is like the rules got changed. We can't fish the wild places that so many of us got into kayak fishing to fish in tournaments anymore. It's because the guy that spent his whole life kind of helping pioneer those kind of waters, I was like, I got to do something about this, man. I'm not going to go down like that. We got to create something. And I talked to GoPro, who had been a sponsor of mine for, nearly a decade. I said, I got this cool idea. My master's degree is in sports management. I used to run sports leagues. I know how to do this stuff, like for 5 years, I ran collegiate level sports leagues, intramurals, campus recreation, that kind of stuff. So I was like, if I was going to like start over from scratch and fix what river bass and kind of the areas that needed fixing, I would add lakes and all the other waters back in, right? Allow motors and everything that everyone wants. Some people don't want, but that's okay, because I'm going to let them still fish in the places and launch in the places that people with motors aren't going to launch and fish, or they're going to take it longer to get there, and you're going to be putting it right there. So it kind of balances that out. I'm going to make this format where we need to get the big non-endemics involved. I'm going to make this format great for the trucks to be able to drive to and from all these places, even in the middle of the tournament, to move spots and do all this, so that one day we can get bigger sponsorships from the Toyotas. And I'm going to help GoPro get a big value on this, and action cameras, because that's the future of this sport, like, period. Not kayak fishing, bass fishing. The GoPro will solve a lot of the drama in the bass boat world and in the kayak world, because I mean, you were on a podcast not too long ago with Ryan, right?
Yeah.
Matowich, if I'm saying that right. I mean, if we had video, and I don't know if Garrett films his tournaments or not, I don't know, but think about it. And this is just an example. I'm saying, an unfortunate circumstance, obviously, what happened there, and it is what it is. But in a lot of ways, a lot of things that have come up, and think about all the things that have come up. If someone just had a video from cast to catch, like you guys just saw, then what's anyone going to say? Who's going to whine and complain, or who could say anything? You can't even say that about golf. So even at the highest level, there's not a camera on everybody every second, and their playing partners aren't watching everybody every second. You could nudge your ball in the rough easily and still get away with it at the professional level of golf. We could be more validated and more, you know what I'm saying, like, than that, because when you film your fish, like the Kayak Adventure series is all about, incentivizing that for you guys with those $10,000 guarantee, right?
Yep.
And the $1,000 Aqua Power bonus, and the tiebreaker for big bass. is if you filmed it and you didn't, it goes to the guy who filmed it because we're trying to show it on that big screen theater. Now, it's not for the 5 fish, not your 5 overall, for the winner, but that's just for big bass. But we're incentivizing it to such great level. I mean, if your payout for this Ocalapalooza, if we hit 125 people, which is all it takes to hit that GoPro guarantee bonus, which we should show that because I've never talked to them about that on the website publicly. We just posted it like last week. All the things you have to do to hit the bonuses. I
I had this written down, GoPro guarantee
perfect
on my thing. So I was hoping to get some more information because I'm fishing this event, and that's
you want to win that. So it's like your payout would go from 5,000 or 6,000 up to 10. Well, that's crazy. Not to just get a inexpensive used GoPro, whatever you got to do, hardwire it and have it filming. And if you never need that footage, it wasn't that hard to set up. It's just not. So, but think about it. It'll validate and remove so much of this drama in our sport. We can get back to focusing on the positivity and the good stuff about the sport. Now, it can't solve if someone got information when they weren't allowed to. It can't solve did someone, practice more than they were supposed to or something like that. There's some things it can't solve. But during the tournament hours of the tournament, it can actually show cast to catch the fish catches. And then if that fish was caught, like the second time, which is what, Garrett says, then at least we would have it on video. And you know what I mean? Like people wouldn't, I hate to see people talk negatively about anybody. I was in that situation that was protested and people were saying stuff for weeks until it was all sorted out. And I hate that for him, man. I hate that for Ryan. I hate that for everybody. And man, we could have had it all solved with just one video. At least you would have known it was caught the second time. And that would have sucked. You know what I mean? For obviously to catch the same fish twice, that sucks. It does happen sometimes. It's rare, but it happens.
You even got a consolation prize. You even built the consolation prize into the rules. Your rules. Yeah.
We did.
Show people what that is.
If you catch the same fish twice in a Kayak Adventure Series tournament, again, remember, I'm not some big, not that Bassmaster is as big as we think it is, but it's a, corporate entity that probably can't move as fast and make changes the way I can. Because this is my own baby. I own it. I can do what I want. I can go on the website, make a change, like that. And I said, I got to react to this. I'm going to put in our rules that the best we can do. I don't think there's any other way to ever do it is say in the rules, first of all, for a duplicate fish, you are going to go by scale patterns. If the scales are the same, it doesn't matter what the markings look like. If there's dirt on the fish, if there's tattered fins or anything that could be marked up or scarred, because someone could go in there, they could keep the fish in a basket on a stringer. They could mark it up. They could trim it. They could do anything they want to manipulate it. But the scales and the patterns never lie. It's the same fish. If it's the scale patterns, the same fish, it's the same fish, 100%. Every biologist will tell you the same thing. There's no twin fish or anything like that. It doesn't exist. There's only the scale pattern is the DNA. But here's what's crazy. You combine that with the markings because there's no way, even if it's identical twin fish, that the same 2 identical twin people out there, let's say identical twin, girls or whatever, there's no way that they both fell off their bike at 7 years old and got scratched on the fence, the barbed wire fence, and they both have a scar in the exact same spot like fish do. So you use the scale pattern and the markings of the fish. So even if there's some new markings or different markings, there's some that were there from that 7-year-old when they fell off the bike and got scarred. Those will always be there, right? Or they got bit by a muskie and they got away. Those scars are going to be there and you can tell what they are. So we're going to use both of those. We actually made sure we know, our anglers know what we are using as a trail to determine if it's the same fish or not. And then the contingency prize is if you film yourself and you show that you caught the same fish, you actually caught it cast to catch twice. And it wasn't, obviously the whole reason that rule is in there so people aren't cheating and keeping the fish on day 1, using it on day 2, or keeping it on day 2 and then using it again later on day 2 and claiming they caught it. That's why the rule's there, to keep us all from not being robbed. Who wants to be robbed, right? Nobody. We don't want to get robbed and cheated out of all this. So that is why the rule's there. And if you catch it twice, you're going to win a GoPro. If you can prove it that you caught it cast to catch, we're just going to give you a GoPro. Sorry, bad luck. You're going to move to the next fish on your stringer, your limit, the next one down, but that one can never get used again. And it happened a lot in Kissimmee at that Bassmaster event, 20 times they said people were fishing the same.
I was one of them.
Were you?
I was one of them. Yeah.
See, I don't know if I can give away 20
duplicate fish.
There was like 20 times they said the same fish was caught by the same person because they were
they're up
kind
shallow.
of nearing the
On
bedding
beds.
season. Some were bedding,
Mhm.
and people just were beating up their same like zones and areas. So I guess that's unbelievable. I've never heard of that many in a tournament. Usually it's like maybe 1 or 2, but when you have 225 people at that time of year, I guess you definitely can't
Pounded
give
it.
away 20 GoPros, so I have to cap that.
Yeah.
You know?
So technically, you could win the GoPro and still win first potentially. I mean,
You
it's just
could.
a scenario.
Could,
Yeah.
could
Yeah.
you describe a little bit more what the GoPro guarantee
Yeah,
is?
let's pull it up because no one's seen this yet. I mean, well, people might have seen it on the website and look. There's a schedule, by the way, but let's go to, if you go under 4 anglers and you go to bonus and contingency programs, and New Canoes will be on here soon. New Canoes is going to come on here very soon. It explains it's very simple, guys. On this big graphic right here, it's literally so easy. It's not hard to hit these things. Have the event hit 125 anglers, okay? I don't think that's too much to ask, right? I mean, a normal payout for $10,000 in a Bassmaster or Hobie, BOS tournament was, I think, 200 people. We're just talking 125, guys. That's it, 125. So on number 1, wouldn't you guys agree that's not too hard to hit? We should be able to do that at most of our events. I would think we're going to hit that this year. We've got some momentum. We've, people
What
love
was
the
last
events
year,
last
Drew?
year.
Where were you at
What was
last
last
year?
year?
Yeah.
I mean, it's hard to say because we had 3 events that were hurricaned out, like literally
Right.
flooded, and the hurricane hit the towns. And we still had some decent turnouts, 50, 60, 70 or whatever it was at those events. And I'm counting, by the way, for our events, we have a team division, a micro bag, and an individual. I'm counting all unique people together. So individual division might have had whatever, like 60 or something. I don't know. But then at the events that weren't all unique individuals, at the very first one, we had around 100 at Sholipalooza. Once you add up all those other people, and then you actually had more than that when you start counting the joint events from local clubs. A lot of the local club guys didn't have the money to spend the KAS entry fee, but they were there only because of that event, and they participated in the local side. So if those people now would just obviously participate, which local clubs, we kind of learned something last year. We're not encouraging joint events anymore. We're encouraging, if it's a joint event, we're encouraging the entry fee to get knocked down to like next to nothing or nothing. If the platform like TourneyX or Fishing Chaos can support that, or just $25 or something super low, because it's hard for a local guy. He wants AOI points in his local club to then spend 100 and, well, last year it was 150, but 175 this year, 175 in our individual division, and then spend 100, then spend 75 more in the team division. And you see how it can add up fast, and that's a lot of money. So anyway, I think this year we had 100 at that one, and Michigan was similar. It was almost 100 unique individuals. So I don't think this is going to be that hard to hit with the momentum we've got, how much fun everyone seemed to have at the events, the Bass U brunch, everything that went on there, the awards, the festivals, the theater, all that fun stuff. But anyway, getting back to it here, the second bullet is you just have to film from the rear view. We don't want to see you and your crotch winding in a bait and then finally flipping the boat. No one cares about that. We want to see the action. Okay. So you got to just film from behind you.
I get some good feedback on my front angled crotch shots there. Not gonna lie.
You get down
viral. A lot of subs out of those videos, Drew.
You never know, man.
Moving
you
on.
never know. The ladies, the ladies can love it, man. I don't know. Know what your fan base consists of.
2% of my demographic. All 2% of them. Yeah.
Well, by the way, we'll count. I'll say this now on your podcast. We will count. We didn't specify this here. I will count a chesty as a rear angle because at least you see the action and the bite. Most all the action, you still get it. Chesty, you'll still count. So from the rear angle with any GoPro in any year. So it's got to be a GoPro branded camera in a year. And then you submit at least 2 of your 5 bass to KAS, which you go up to the website here, click on 4 anglers and upload photo video. Easy. Just trim it with the GoPro Quick app, or whatever you want to use. It doesn't matter. It doesn't have to be the GoPro Quick app, but that's the easy way to do it. Because you can download your footage from your GoPro, trim just that cast to catch clip. That's all we need. That minute. That's it. Usually it's like a minute or less. Like smallmouth were, a minute, and a half minute, whatever, maybe 2 minutes max, because they were on spinning rods and whatever. But most of your fish catches are going to be a minute or less. But either way, just get us the cast to catch or bring your SD card to us at the awards or at the festival before the awards, and we'll pull it off there for you. But we just need 2 of your 5. So you guys are still tracking. I'm looking at my screen, so I can't see you guys, but thumbs up if you're telling me so far. This
We're
is
tracking.
not hard.
Yep.
Not that hard. Okay. Then we already talked about trim your videos from cast to catch. That's it. We don't need your 64 gigabytes of stuff. And we don't care about you taking a leak or eating lunch or anything else when your GoPro was running anyway. We don't want it. We don't want that. And we don't want to share that. And you don't want us to have it anyway. So then you must just win the tournament. Okay. That's obvious, right? That was the guarantee for this whole thing. You got to win. And then on the last part, so $500 of this bonus comes from from you also hitting the Naqua Power bonus. We really want to try to get more people to do that. So if you, for some reason, aren't filming with powered by Naqua, it's no big deal. Your payout still goes to 9,500 or 7,000 respectively. So it's still a big jump up. You know what I'm saying? If you're with a GoPro, but just not using the Naqua, but it's 10,000 total if you're hitting that Naqua bonus. So, and then the only thing in asterisk we have there, most of the time we'll probably have that amount of cash in the bank account. So we have a separate bank account that I have that when you guys enter a KAS tournament, it all goes to a separate bank account that I don't touch because we need that money to pay you guys out, which we do. We hand you a check when you walk off stage at Kayak Adventure Series. Here's your check. Thanks for, now it's post dated till that Monday when you can actually cash it. And that's past the protest period anyway. So you got to wait to cash it till Monday, but you got your check. It's easy for us, easy for you. Boom. Here's your check. The way, simple. So the only thing about that bonus, the guarantee, the GoPro guarantee is we should, some of that money's coming from sponsors, some from GoPro. There's some other sponsors, whatever, obviously that support us with cash. So some of that's coming from the sponsors, and we may not have all their checks in at that moment. So some of that cash, it won't take us more than a month to get it, but we probably will have it to be able to pay out the whole thing right then and there every time. But there's a chance, what I mean? If it keeps hitting, everyone keeps hitting it, then it's like, all right, we got to get the next quarterly payment from this sponsor. So that money, now your actual tournament winnings, your normal, what the payout normally would have been, you would get right there with your check. So that's the only way it works. You might have to wait a smidge longer, but
what differentiates the 10,000 to the 7,500? Is that just the number of participants?
Yeah, it's a couple things. I mean, I wanted to go big in this year, right? It's a big opportunity for KS to we have some momentum. We want to use it and grow. And really 10,000 is like a number that it kind of just like pops to people. It's 5 figures.
Yeah.
So I wanted to hit that. But I couldn't do it on every one because we don't have enough sponsor money to if that hit on every single one, I did 10,000, I would never be able to pay it out. I don't want to get myself in a situation where I can't pay out to the anglers, right? That's not good.
It only goes to first place then. So if first place wins, obviously whoever wins first place and they don't film with a GoPro, it doesn't happen that event then.
Yep, exactly. And the payout the payouts will, and I'll actually have to post this on a payout chart, be a little bit different for if someone hits the guarantee or if they don't. This is again to incentivize. I want to go full screen so people can see me. This is important stuff to incentivize filming because I want to get us to where it's such commonplace to film to protect your character and the tournament trail and to let everyone see the sport is legit and it's all happening real live. No one's out here like everyone thinks whenever they get beat, they're like, oh, who knows what so-and-so's doing or what's going on. Like, it's just not happening. We're catching our fish. Like all the people that are hammers in the sport, your Russ Snyders and Guillermo and Christine and all these people, we are all catching our fish. Like, you know what I mean? Like we just, you guys heard me explain how I caught this fish. Yeah. It's not your normal explanation. You know, like if you know how to catch fish and you kind of can tell if somebody else does, right? You know what I mean? Like you can talk with them and you just know. So it's all the sport's great. It's awesome. It's on the up and up. I need more positivity and less drama about people. Maybe they're doing this or maybe they're doing that. So we want to get people to see how easy this is so that we can take our sport to another level and no one's character's no longer attacked and all that good stuff. So we can and also of course see the fish catches, which grows the sport because then now we have those awesome fish catches. Mm-hmm. So eventually there will be a kayak fishing elite series. It could be next year. It could be 5 years from now. But when that happens, I promise you this, your fish will not count unless they're on GoPro. Right. They're not going to count or action camera of doesn't matter what brand. I'm sure it obviously they're going to let any brand be allowed. They will not count. Now, why? Because when you have $50,000 on the line to every tournament or 25 or whatever the initial league's going to be. If it's $1,000 entry fee and it pays out 25 or 50, there's no way with that amount of money, if people are already trying to cheat now, there's no way that people won't try to do it then, especially when nobody's on them. There's no marshals because we can't have a co-angler or a marshal in our kayak. Bass boats can't get to all the, camera boats, and marshals can't get to where we are, nor do we have enough bass boats out there and enough money to pay enough people just to follow this guy around in your bass boat all day long. Of course we don't. There's no other way but this. There's old ones here. I'll pull, but this GoPro, like this is like a really old one, but I had a newer one. I'd hold it up, but the GoPro is the only way to validate these catches. And maybe it'll be like 4 of your 5 fish have to be on GoPro just in case something happens or whatever. But if you're spending as much money as you are, 15,000, 20,000, whatever, 5,000 on a kayak to fish a tournament at that level, some kayak fishing elite series, you easily got $179 for that new Hero from GoPro to buy that, hardwire it with a Naqua power bank and roll a 256 gigabyte card or 500 something gigabyte card and just let it roll. And then you have enough money to have a second one, a backup as a chesty, just in case, because if you don't get it on camera, at least 4 of your 5 fish or all 5 or whatever it ends up being. So we're trying to just get people where it's so size that it's almost crazy if you don't. And it might push some people out there just kind of like, I'm too stubborn, or maybe they're kind of like, I will credit so many of the anglers in our series last year that were in their 50s and 60s and 70s. If we had someone that age, I can't remember, but that Mark Bradford retired right here in Northeast Ohio. He's got a GoPro and is using it. It's not that hard. It really isn't. So that's the goal. Let's get them there. And then the payout chart is going to kind of say my last little point here. The payout will go deeper and more powerful to the whole field if someone doesn't win the GoPro guarantee. So it'll, and what I mean is actually, it's going to be weaker for first place. Like if a normal payout would be for 100 people is, let's say, $5,000 for, again, remember the Hobie and the Bassmaster are $250 entry fees or 60 or 300. And it took I think 200 people to get to 10,000. We're at $175 and we are only requiring 125 to get there. So what I'm going to do is I've kind of worked on payout structures and charts, and I have some experts in doing that kind of stuff. So the payout chart will change dramatically if someone wins or doesn't, because it gives someone who's considering cheating no reason to do it. Because it's like, okay, I'm not going to get the 10,000. And if the normal payout was going to be 5,000, I'm not going to get 5,000. It might be like 4,250. It's going to go down even more. But what's going to happen is more that's going to flood to places down the line. Because it's like, how do we know, man? How do we know? No one was there. Like, how do we know if really you were? And if you know what I'm saying? Like if you were, legit and everything was on the up and up, then it's just kind of crazy not to just film it.
It's a huge upside. Yeah.
But when we do have in our rules that if you decline, you cannot decline us as we see who's on fish on day 1 on Friday or whatever, or at any time during day 2, you can't refuse having us come fly a drone or cover you in a kayak from a distance with our cameras just for a little while. You can't refuse that, because that's a big red flag. Like, who would not want photos of themselves in a really cool, you know what I mean? Like,
all day.
Most people would pay. Yeah, please. Exactly. Most people would pay someone who have photos. Follow me all day, dude. Like, to get pictures. They would die for someone to come do that, or they would, obviously we're doing it for free and trying to get you coverage for your sponsors and for yourself, for your own memories too. So what a big red flag that is for us to realize you're trying to tell us you don't want us to follow you with a drone or in person. Well, now we know who to even keep an eye on even closer.
Right.
So everything we're doing is trying. If people think they can beat technology and this phone, they don't understand. I can't explain all the ways the phones, we're not like tracking you. We can't track that, but there's a lot of things in the metadata and ways and like even just people that tried to use duplicate fish, who've tried to cut catch boards and weld them back together and have it. Like, there's so many ways with the data, with that picture, that you cannot beat us in any way like that. We will find you out. And then obviously in the rules, it says, we'll have the potential to prosecute you for fraud, and you could lose your job, your career, your family, who knows? I mean, people have lost families over trying to, it's just not
Drew's
worth
coming for you, folks.
He's taking your wife and kids.
Drew is coming. Hide your kids. Hide your wife. Drew's coming for you. If you're cheating in the cage.
I'm more just trying to protect everybody else. It's like I'm trying to come after everybody. I'm trying to let you know before you even try to do something dumb, your payout's not going to be worth it. Because if you're not filming, the first place payout isn't as strong as it would have been in years past. It's actually going to be. So we are hoping and dying to get that GoPro guarantee to get hit on every stop, because then we got the footage, we got the story. It's going to grow the sport. It's going to it would validate, even in the bass boat world, all the drama and the stuff. Or there's no more co-anglers, so who's watching the guys out there in the Bassmaster Opens? GoPro could be, you know what I mean? You could incentivize special things if they get their fish on camera too, and then at least you'd have, the footage. But anyway, I'm pretty passionate about this stuff, if you can't tell, and trying to get the sport to another level that we've never.
A couple of things. One,
been able to see.
we just hit 80. We got 8 folks. This is great.
80.
So thank you so much. We have not yet hit the like button. Please help me do that. I guess it'll be a little bit more reach on the YouTube. Guys. Two, another thing I love about just filming, Drew. Another thing I love is if you've never filmed yourself and you've gone back and watched your footage, what you think you're actually doing when you catch this fish a lot of times is not what you're doing until you go watch it. All right. And you're seeing things like chasers that you didn't see.
Right.
And you're learning how you actually caught that fish, which is going to change what you do next time. So even if you don't plan on doing like content creation and then posting it online and having your wife fish with you and catch 9.2s and go to 500,000, it's still really great just for that post-mortem. I become a better angler just in the editing process alone. So,
yeah, I agree, man. You do learn a lot when you watch it back. I 100%. Learn more. We all do. I mean, no doubt about it.
Like watching the tape. People play football. They go watch the tape as a team. You learn. You post-mortem. All that good stuff. Yep. Well, Drew, we're an hour and a half. I love it. 85 live on right now. It was a freaking great show. I look forward to having you back on the show. A lot of questions. I know we were ripping. There's a lot of things. Billy Kayak said, film it mostly because I want to watch it.
Well, as he's
I love it.
Melting, I have a quick question to kind of wrap it up too as well.
Yeah.
We have a lot of anglers here in Florida that fish the FKBT, Florida Kayak Bass Trail, as well as the Bass Nations. And there's a lot of folks I looked at who have signed up, and they haven't signed up yet. I don't know, maybe they're just waiting.
Yeah.
I know we are about 2 weeks out. What would you say to the people that are on the fence on potentially signing up for the Acalapalooza and or not? What would you say to those guys?
Well, I would say that we want to hit that GoPro guarantee. So the way tournaments work is as the momentum builds and people start entering, more people get excited about it because they realize that it's going to have a bigger payout. And in our case, obviously hit that bonus for the 125. So I would sign up now, sign up soon. You could also, you can get a refund, all the way down to the last minute. It's fine. You can also move your entry fee to another event because the refund isn't 100% because there's stripe fees and Tourney X fees that we can't get back. So I would say go ahead and sign up to try to help us get momentum, get to that level. Actually, I'll say this. We're going to say it tomorrow on our live stream. If we can get to, we're almost to 50. And the first 50 anglers, 50, get $100 gift bag at Kayak Adventure Series events worth of sponsors products, $100 worth of stuff. And it's going to be like good stuff. You're going to have Nakwa stuff. Like right here, this is my basement where I do all this packaging, all this stuff. So you're going to get, a quad cable from Nakwa.
I use that. I just used it.
Sweet. Every cable you need in one little toggle thing right there. That's small and easy to carry around everywhere. You're going to get good stuff in that sponsor's gift bag. Okay. Z-Man stuff. You're going to get Finman fishing stuff, that little multi-tool thing that goes on your rods. It's a rod keeper, a line cutter, like good stuff. I mean, there might be a few things in there that you're like, oh, whatever, but it's $100 worth of stuff. And the first 50 get that. And if you're not in the first 50, don't get it. So right now I would be looking at our signups. I don't know if anyone can pull that up, but by the way, I will share this one last time. We'll find out how many are signed up. We'll look at it together. But all the bonuses, we just looked at the GoPro bonus, but the other one, don't forget, is the Nakwa Power bonus right there. And then Toyota Bonus Bucks. Go to the Toyota Bonus Bucks website. You'll see Kayak Adventure Series listed. Click on it, and it shows the events there. And it explains how to win your Toyota Bonus Bucks. You got to be in a 5-year or newer Toyota. I get that. We all don't have that, but those are the contingency programs, and New Canoe has one coming out as well. That's going to be here listed as soon as they get their information. So if you go to events and you click on Ocala, click on register for the individual division, you will see we are at 36. So it's only like not many more, like 14 more people, and we're going to be at 50. So only 14 more people are going to get a gift bag. And like you said, most of these people aren't from Florida. And I would think the majority of the people, when this is all said and done, are going to be from Florida. So
yeah, everyone waits to the last minute. They always do. Always the last few days they get in.
Go
checking the weather, checking this, checking that.
Yeah. Do it now.
Well, it's always like 70 to 80, so you'll be good.
Yeah.
Besides that cold front before Kissimmee. But yeah.
We're gonna do it. We're gonna hit that, I'm sure, hopefully. But yeah, let's make it happen. I tell you what, I'll put in 10 chatterbaits, mostly jackhammers. I think I got enough of these laying around, but 10 chatterbaits, whether Evo or jackhammer or something good, mini max, something. And if we can get signed up by tomorrow, when KAS live is over, let's say tomorrow, which will be around 1:15 p.m. Eastern. If we can get to 50 by then, I'm throwing in 10 random jackhammers in all those 50 bags just to my own stuff.
Oh,
so that's a good deal. Some people are going to get a little bit better
for sure.
deal. So that's something I can do. But anyway, yeah, I think that's
it, man.
I
mean, I'm sure there's more. I got a billion other questions, but we'll
do it again, buddy. You guys are awesome.
I'm fishing Springfield, the great Midwest. Yes.
Yep.
Yeah, I'm doing that one. And then I'll be fishing the broodstock too.
Yeah, you're right there, man.
Yeah, I got 2 hours over here, 2 hours over here. I was like, you know what? I can make that drive. So I'm excited about those. If you want to fish with me, sign up with those. But I mean, the Susky is only 4 hours away in Bloomsburg, right?
Well, so if you do good, let's see, the Midwest of us is before the Susky. So if you do good, correct, and you are, or say you join up with somebody on a team and you do really good, or individual, you're kind of in that AOI race, because then if you go to the Susky and do good, that's your 2 of the regular season 6. You need 2 of 6 for AOI to win that $10,000 AOI package for the individual. 2 of 6. That's it. And then you combine that with the broodstock, which you already said you're going to get your 3 tournament score. So all you need is 3, but one of them's got to be broodstock. So 2 of those 6. Most everybody can get to 2 of the 6. So you guys in Florida who do well and you crush it in Florida, consider the South Boston, Virginia. Consider going to one other one. Consider go to the Susky. It's well worth the adventure. Trust me. Minnesota is a long way away, but when are you ever going to have an excuse to go fish the upper Mississippi for smallmouth, or Ohio, the great Midwest of us? Come fish another event and see where you
folks,
stake out. It's going to be fun. But I do want to shout out before I leave too, just Steve Owens and the Bassmaster Kayak Series. We've worked so well to deconflict our schedules and be nicely spaced out. You can definitely get involved in that series once again, our series is kind of like laid back. It's a little bit more, I think more intermediate beginners are fishing it. And, obviously you're going to have some hammers that fish it too, which is great because we have a lot of time for fellowship and hanging out there, and you get to kind of meet and hang out with them and whatnot. But the Bassmaster Kayak Series is doing great things, and GoPro, I've got them involved in that series. And if you get a cool clip on camera with the Bassmaster Kayak Series, you're going to win a GoPro. You just got to submit them to their Dropbox, folder link that they give us, and you can win a GoPro through that series too. So I just want to shout out them and the great job they're doing. And I do appreciate and like the fact that we do have options, and we do have a different format and rule set, and that differentiates us a little bit. And that's good. Really, it's like we said, sand volleyball and hardcore. We want to be, if we're going to be another national trail, we want to be different. So, and then the Native Power Hour, which is also different, the third national trail that still is around, the Every Fish Counts Native Big Bass Power Hour. The Susky event is a joint event with them. We might hit 250 or 300 plus people at that event, because you got all the money, $1,000 cash from the Native Power Hour every hour, plus the Kayak Adventure Series, $10,000 guarantee payout at that one. I'm telling you, man, that might be a 250, 300 person event. I wouldn't doubt it. Like, with how much money is being given away and how much fun. We have the campground, the fairgrounds rented out in Bloomsburg, Pennsylvania, and we're all staying there. Like, if you want to stay there, it's all one fairground. Camping is there, primitive and electric and hookups. The awards are there. Everything is there out of one place, just like Woodstock or something, like an actual festival, one place. So I don't know why we can't hit 250, 300 people at that one. Should be awesome.
Yeah. Well, you got people signing up. Chris Mitchell Fishing. He's like, just signed up.
Let's go, Chris. Let's go.
We have what else we have? We have
Chris signs up.
Outdoors.
That might deter people from signing up.
I'm definitely in Woodstock now. So
let's go, Diggs. I love Digs Outdoors, man.
This is good.
Always online, always chatting it up.
I know, right? Well, Drew, thank you so much. Everyone listening in, 70 to 80 strong the whole time. Grateful for every single one of you. Once again, if you want to get a hold of us for any reason, wendellfishing.com, kayakfishingobsessed.com. Head over to Kayak Adventure Series. Check out the 2025. I mean, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 total this year.
Yep.
Check them out. See which one's close to you. Get signed up. A lot of great,
Hey, sorry, I saw a comment. We got to address this.
Oh, what was it?
We have
I
one
missed
more.
it.
Jason Lee says he's not in it for sponsorship. He doesn't want his face all over. He doesn't want to be, so he doesn't want to film. He's also not full of himself. So don't automatically assume that he's devious. So if you're that guy, like Jason Lee is, that's fine. Some people are introverts, and that's fine. We're not going to even do anything with your footage. Just film yourself in case you win. And if you do, it's the back of your head, man. It's just the back of your head and your fish catches. We're not, no one's saying you got to like turn, be right in front of the camera, smile, talk to us, have some script. You know, this whole thing, you're trying to sell baits and products and sponsorships. You don't have to just be yourself. Just literally catch the fish on camera. And then, and if you don't, and you don't win, no one ever sees that footage. It never goes anywhere. It doesn't, you don't have to worry about it. Just don't worry about it. You're just doing it so you can get the extra $3,000 or $4,000 in case you do win. And then the little bit that's great about it, no one's also going to question anything you did because you got it. You proved you're catching your fish. No one's saying that, you know, you're devious or whatever. If you guys aren't into filming yourself and you're not, some people might be full of themselves or whatever. I just love, you know, the sport. I want you guys to be taken care of and be protected as anglers fishing the tournament, knowing that it's legit up and up. So we're incentivizing it big time, but I totally get what Jason's coming from and those kind of people for sure, man. I get it. So not everyone's an extrovert and wants that. So, but we kind of have to at this point.
Super excited for Ocala. You got some people. I think that was the Jake you were referring to earlier. And
that's right. Jake
so,
Cook.
Check it out, kayakadventureseries.com. Thanks everyone for listening in. I got fishing with Gramps next week. We're going to talk about, we're gearing up for some March bass fishing. We'll be talking from our point of view up here in Northeast Ohio, him in Indiana. However, SOFLO down in Florida. So we're going to give a well-rounded review and really talk about March bass fishing. I know for us, I think I caught my first bass out of Ohio last year on March 11th. And so I'm about a month out for being out in the water and starting to get them. So I'm excited about that. Come on. I know. I'm pumped. Yeah. Drew, you're right next to me. I mean, you're probably.
I'm right. I've never gotten
like a half hour.
20, 30 minutes.
I don't know. We need to get coffee sometime.
You guys are neighbors.
It's ridiculous.
Like I said, I do nothing when I come home. I'm like, it's work and kids and wife and family. And then like, boom, I'm out. Man, so we'll make it happen though. We got to get
together. Go to Paw Patrol together. Just me and you and Paw Patrol. We'll just go. Exactly. We'll send it. All right, folks. Thank you all so much for listening to the Kayak Fishing Obsessed podcast. See you next week at 8:30 p.m. Eastern. You have a good one.
Yep.
See you guys.
See you later.